Okay. Hey, crocheters. No, let's try that again. I kicked my tripod. Hey, crafters, crocheters, knitters, and yarn enthusiasts, are we ready for our final video about Caron Cakes blankets? It's a follow-up video to give you all the details and the numbers that I didn't do in the crochet along. Okay? My name is Jenny. Welcome to Granny Square Peg. So, as of today, I've got 4 blankets made with this pattern. Okay? 3 of them are Caron Cakes. The 4th one is Bernat Pop, and I don't actually have it pulled out to show you. It's in a pile somewhere that I do not want to go through. So, let's start with what I'm calling blanket number 1. Hold on a second. Technical difficulties of the old school kind, right? I wrote down notes, right? I have a ceiling fan on. My notes blow away. They're halfway across the room. What can you do? Okay. Blanket number 1. Ready? I made this blanket in February 2017, so it is now 5 years old. I used 7 cakes of yarn. The colors were Cherry Chip, Rainbow Sprinkles, Lilac Frosting, Spice Cake, Lemon Lime, Bumbleberry, and Blueberry Cheesecake. But you know, some of these colors have been discontinued. Like Lilac Frosting, for sure. That's this brown and tan and beige and purple. That one's been discontinued. Spice Cake, I think they still make that. Rainbow Sprinkles. Bumbleberry, because I actually just used Bumbleberry in my crochet along. So some of them are discontinued. Some of them they still make. Alright, let's see. Next on my list of information. I weighed my blanket on a postal scale to see how much yarn I actually used, because the yarn cakes are 7.1 ounces and I had 7 cakes of yarn. So you're thinking, okay, 49 ounces of yarn, but I actually only used 35 ounces of yarn. Okay, because I didn't use the whole cake out of all the colors. I only used partial, and I used about 5 cakes worth of yarn. Right? The whole point of that is to let you know, if you want to make a blanket that comes out the same size and shape as what I made, you need 5 cakes plus maybe a 6th one if you don't plan on cutting and changing colors like I did. But I cut and changed colors. I only used what I wanted, right? So you know the cost of the cakes. When they first came out in 2016, 2017, they were $7.99 to $9.99. Now, when I did buy them, I didn't buy them all at full price. I bought some of them at 40% off. I might have bought 1 or 2 at 50% off, but I don't have notes on that anymore because it's been so long. So all I can do is give you a rough estimate of what I spent on yarn. If I spent $5.99 a cake for 7 of them, I spent $41.93. If I bought them full price at $9.99 for 7 of them, I spent $69.93. So, I mean, and the only reason that we keep track of this is for pricing. If it is something that we plan on selling when we're done making it, we need to know how much money that we spent on the yarn, right? Right. So we're going to get to that. That's how much money. Somewhere between $40 and $70 is what I spent on yarn. And that's US dollars, because I'm in the United States. The width of my blanket. Sizing. I have measured this blanket 5 different times, and I come up with a different number every time I measure it, because it depends on how I spread it out, if I'm pulling it or if it just lands and it's all tight. So somewhere between 51 inches and 54 inches wide. Okay? The length of it, top to bottom, is somewhere between 53 inches and 57. So there's an average in there somewhere. It is a throw size blanket. It's a medium throw. Okay? And it can also fit on your lap. Alright, my initial starting chain was 170. I used an H 5mm crochet hook. I also have timing on how many hours I spent working on this blanket. What I do is when I'm at the start of a row, I use, you know, we all have it on our phones, either the stopwatch or the timer feature, or just sitting and looking at an old school clock. And I just check the minutes on how long it takes me to work the row from the beginning to the end. On the average, the rows on this blanket were 7 minutes. Okay? So you take that 7 minutes and you multiply it by 178, because there's 178 rows. Comes out to 1,276 minutes divided by 60, because 60 minutes in an hour, comes up with 20 hours, 20.76. I rounded it up to 21 hours. Cost me, oh my goodness, it's a lot of information. I'm going a little too fast for myself, and because I'm following a set of notes, because it's a lot of numbers to keep in your head about things, right? And the reason these numbers matter, if you want to crochet for a living and you want to be able to sell your stuff, you have to keep track of how much money you spent on the yarn that you're using, and you need to keep track of how many hours it takes you to make something. Now, 21 hours on this blanket, and it was over a couple of weeks. Is that an average amount of time to work on a blanket? Maybe, but I crochet fast because I've been crocheting for a long time. So I actually crochet fast. Could you imagine somebody who crochets a little slower and it takes them 30 hours or 40 hours to make a blanket, and then you add in your time? Like, how much do you charge an hour? You know, minimum wage? Do you charge for your years of experience? Because this is part of my problem with selling my blankets when I'm done. Nobody is going to pay me what they're worth and what my time is worth. So then why do I do it? Partly I crochet because it helps me relax, okay? It helps calm my mind down. It gives my hands something to do. I actually enjoy crocheting. I enjoy playing with yarn and color combinations. I like shopping for new yarns and exploring and finding that hidden gem in the yarn community where it's just a pleasure to work with. Caron Cakes wound up being that for me when they came out in 2016, and being the fact that it's wound up in a cake form. It was 7.1 ounces, which was a little bigger than some skeins of yarn they were selling at the time. And then it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool, and it has such a soft texture to it. I love working with the Caron Cakes. And then their color choices. As you can see with the way I put these blankets together, how beautiful these colors are. Okay? They're absolutely beautiful. And then you take the leftovers that I had, because I had leftovers of the colors, and I separated each color. I made a leftovers blanket, which is actually so beautiful that I'm keeping it for myself. But I mean, look at these pinks and the reds. Beautiful blanket. Beautiful blanket. So I called it my Caron Cakes blanket pattern because I wrote this pattern specifically for Caron Cakes. You should go check out my other video. It's an early on video. I'll put the link down in the description box when I was talking about my Caron Cakes to begin with. And then I have a crochet along that I started in mid-August that ran to the end of September of 2022. You should go watch those videos. They were fun. So 21 hours to make it. Anywhere between $40 and $70 for the yarn. How much do you charge for it when you go to sell it? I don't know. If you guys have an opinion, let me know down in the comments below. Because at $10 an hour, $20 an hour, $2 an hour, I mean, my going rate for 40 years of experience and my talent, I should be somewhere between $30 and $50 an hour. But nobody in their right mind is going to spend $500 on this blanket when it's only the size of a throw for your lap, right? But I guess maybe that's a whole other video, ranting and raving about how nobody actually wants to pay what your crochet items are worth, right? So that's blanket number one. And that's where it all started for me. I had posted a picture of my blanket in a crochet group that I belong to, and everybody loved my pattern because I made it specifically for the long color changes in the cakes. And I loved it too, so much so that I made a second blanket, which brings us to Caron Cakes blanket number 2. You ready? Now, this one I made a little smaller. I wanted to check out my own pattern in the numbers. So while that one was a starting chain of 170, this one is a starting chain of 150. So I wanted it a little smaller, and it came out a little shorter with its length. Okay. I made this one in August 2018. So a year after I made the first one. The colors, I only used 5 cakes this time instead of 7. I used 5. And I didn't break them up. I actually used the whole cake. Unless I had, you know, sometimes when you pull the yarn out of the middle, it only has a little bit of maybe the lightest color or the darkest color. I did cut those out and leave them off to the side because I like the big color blocks that I get. Anyway, so 5 cakes, right? And I used rainbow sherbet, blueberry custard, pistachio, strawberry trifle, and fruit cobbler. Again, with the cost of the yarn, whether I paid full price or half price for it, $30 to $50. Okay. I still used H 5mm crochet hook, and its width is somewhere between 46 to 48 inches, and its length is somewhere between 50 and 54 inches. And the only reason I say that is because every time I lay it out and I measure it, I always come up with a different number. So this one, I would say it's a small throw size or a small lap size, and I would say it's crib size. Okay. It's got 161 rows plus a starting chain, and it took me a little less time for each row. It was a little over 5 minutes for each row, so I just rounded down to 5 minutes, and it comes out to 13.5 hours to make it. So 13.5 hours, somewhere between $30 and $50 for the yarn. Okay, and I just call it blanket number 2. And again, these colors, I mean, they're so beautiful. So I did have just small amounts of leftovers from this one. This is the fruit cobbler color. Awesome, right? This is strawberry trifle. It's a coral, peachy, orange kind of color with some gray and tan. Here's the all around perfectly perfect pistachio. Turns out I have a thing for the pistachio. And if you'd ask me, I won't tell you green's my favorite color, but I like it in the pistachio. This one they called it, they have so many blueberry colors. Blueberry muffin, blueberry cheesecake, blueberry custard. This one is the blueberry custard. I guess maybe because it has those yellows in there. And then this is rainbow sherbet, which is different than rainbow sprinkles. Rainbow sprinkles is awesome. Rainbow sherbet's okay. So that's blanket number 2. Okay? Now, we're going to switch tracks for a minute, because I actually made 2 more Caron Cakes blankets, but I didn't use my pattern. I did something a little different. I took 4 cakes, 5 cakes. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I took 6 cakes of yarn. Lavender cake, chocolate mint, fruit cake, blueberry parfait, strawberry kiwi, and mixed berry. So out of those 6 cakes of yarn, I took them and I dismantled them completely. So you see this right here? The pink, and the pink, and the gray. And I'm going to show you all real quick. Every color was completely separated out of those 6 cakes of yarn. Right? I've got 2 blankets out of this. I'm calling them my Caron Cakes stripey blankets. And no, I haven't done a video on them yet, but I will. I have a certain order that I'm going through with doing my blankets, and it's usually by the date they were made, because I've been working on the oldest to the newest, and these are somewhere in the middle. So you see, I separated out the cakes, and then this creamy white color is Red Heart Super Saver in soft white. So I would do a block of the Caron Cake, and then I would do a block of the Red Heart Super Saver, and it gave this awesome stripy look to these blankets. So these are actually blankets number 3 and 4. But a video will be coming on them in a couple weeks. Or maybe after the new year. I'm not sure yet. So, for the purpose of this, this is the 3rd Caron Cakes blanket I made with my pattern specifically for the cakes. And I might need a better name for it. I don't know. Ready? This is the one I made for our crochet along, okay? It is. I made it August and September of 2022. Then I have videos and a crochet along that goes along with it. I'll put the link down in the description box. I used 7 cakes. I was going to try and do 5, and then I realized I needed a little bit more color. I did pistachio, bumbleberry, white truffle, red velvet, blueberry muffin, buttercream, and rhubarb cream. Okay. Cost of the yarn, again, $40 to $70. So this one is 50 to 53 inches wide. It is 42 to 45 inches tall. It is a small throw size or crib size, right? And my total hours to make it was 16.8 hours. So this one is back to 170 chains with an H or a 5mm crochet hook. That was all part of my crochet along. It came out smaller than my other 2 blankets, which is okay. What color should I say again? Ready? Pistachio, bumbleberry, white truffle, blueberry, whatever kind of blueberry they called it, red velvet, white, I already said white truffle, didn't I? That's crazy. Buttercream. Buttercream and the white truffle are so very similar. So buttercream and then rhubarb cream. Now, when they made the yarn back in 2016, it was a little bit thinner than this stuff that they just made that I just bought in 2022. This is a little thicker for whatever reason. Even though they're all labeled as a number 4 medium weight, my first 2 blankets are thinner than this blanket. This one's a little thicker for whatever reason. And I like it. I like all my blankets. So, there we go. 3 blankets with the pattern that I specifically wrote for the Caron Cakes. 2 blankets that I made with, where I paired it with Red Heart Super Saver and did a color stripe block to it. And then the last blanket, blanket number 6, is my leftovers blanket, where I used every single leftover from my Caron Cakes and made a blanket. And it's all single crochet. Now, what I did for this one is I made a set of videos that will be going up tomorrow on Monday, the 24th, and they'll run for 4 or 5 days, depending on, because I have a lot of video footage. So 4 or 5 days next week, and I will show you the process of making this blanket. Okay? My leftovers blanket came out beautiful. So, I'm hoping that I've answered all the questions that I've been getting with the size, the shape, the yarn amounts, and I give a little extra information on how much money I spent on it, how much time I spent making it. I get questions, and a lot of times the questions are repeated, and because people don't watch the whole video, and because I don't put all the information down in the description box. So hopefully that is everything that we need to know about Caron Cakes, okay? It's a beautiful yarn to work with, and I will keep working with it. Once I clear out my yarn stash, I will go back to making more blankets with Caron Cakes. Maybe not in this pattern. Maybe I'll come up with a new pattern, right? Because I do like to design and create new patterns, because eventually I get bored with what I've already done. And that's why it's been so long for this video, because I told you guys I was going to do a follow-up. Well, I got bored and I had no motivation to come and do this video. So that's some real life for you right there. So, okay guys, I know that's a lot of information in one video, and I know that I talk fast and I run it all together. If it's too fast for you, I'm sorry. You can always ask me down in the comments below if you have a question or if you need clarification for anything. I am working on remembering to keep my notes at the computer when I go through questions, that I can answer them a little easier. A lot of times my notes are in some other part of the house and I just don't feel like going to get them. But that's a lazy thing, so I'm trying to keep them at my computer. So don't be afraid to ask any questions. I'll answer anything. I wanted to give you some insight into how hard it can be to sell your crocheting. For people who make hats and scarves and stuffed animals, it's a little easier for them because they're using such small amounts of yarn. So they can sell it and make a profit. Maybe because it doesn't take as long to make it, they can sell it and make a profit. But when you're a blanket maker like I am, because I am using massive quantities of yarn, and you're thinking, okay, 35 ounces of yarn is not a lot. Well, yeah, it is. It's $50 worth of yarn, you know. There's no profit to be made in making blankets, and especially since a lot of my blankets are big. These are kind of small at being throw size. You should see all my other blankets. They're throw size or bigger. You wait till I get to the twin size ones and the king size ones. I go through a lot of yarn, and I don't crochet slow. So it's just let you know that that's part of the reason why the blankets are still sitting in my house, because when it's time to sit down and write a listing at Etsy, it is so hard to come up with a price for the blankets, for my time, for my effort, for my knowledge, my experience. I can charge $2 an hour, and it's ridiculous. It's insulting. And then, you know, the cost of the yarn. I don't get the yarn free of charge. I shop with coupons, so yeah, I can get it 30% off, 40% off, 50% off, but I still spent money on the yarn. I can't give it away. So that's why the blankets sit in my house. So I'm working through that. If you guys have any advice, let me know down in the comments, okay? Because I struggle with trying to sell my stuff. And I need to sell my stuff because I've got too much of it, okay? Thank you for watching as much as you do. And to some of my subscribers and viewers out there with my last video, oh my goodness, you guys made me cry so much with your kind words and your thoughts and your comments. So from the bottom of my heart, know that I appreciate every single one of you, okay? Every single one. I am writing a blog post today. If my husband has to duct tape me to my computer chair, I'm writing a blog post today with the written pattern for those who do better with reading the written pattern than following along with videos and talking. I am writing that blog post today. It might not have a lot of spiciness or life in there or any of my snarkiness in there. It might just read like a textbook and tell you, do this, 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 and be done. But I am going to write it. I am going to post it. I'll put the link down in the description box, okay? So, and hopefully by the end of the day, I will have my blankets listed at Etsy My husband just might have to duct tape me to my chair for that one too. So that's it for today's video, because it's time to move on to the next set of blankets and the next pattern that I'm obsessing about. Right now for me, it is half double crochets in between stitches. It's something I've been working on for the last couple days, and I need you guys to get caught up to where I'm at, because I move from my projects very, very quickly, from one to the next to the next. So my next set of videos will be, I'm going to try and give you the full dates. Give me a second. Need my calendar. Okay, so today is Sunday, October 23rd. My next set of videos will be the 24th, 25th, 27th, 28th, and it'll be about my leftovers blanket. I'm telling you, I shot a lot of footage, video footage for this blanket, okay? And then Wednesday the 26th will be another What's in My Random Yarn Bins video, okay? So I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you all very much, and I will see you later. Bye!